Hello, welcome to Prerona Television. We are waiting for our speaker on leadership. We are conducting a leadership series, leadership development series. It has a continuous process that we are doing, and we are expecting Jiao Rahman, the resource person here, and he is joining with us right now. And we every week, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It is in Edmonton time, and Toronto time is 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. And in Bangladesh time is 8 a.m. the following day. Today is 15th July at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are happy that many of you are here. We are also, MS Siddiqui is also joining with us. He's a renowned writer. Uh, he's he has a lot of publications. So we are welcoming MS Siddiqui. He is with us. We're very happy. He is joining. He has joined with us. So I'm welcoming Jia Rahman, the resource person on motivational speaker series. We started this this leadership speaker series on July 1st, and this is a weekly leadership sessions that we're conducting every Wednesday. In Canada, it is actually Mountain Standard Time at 8 p.m. And in Bangladesh, it is 8 a.m. the following day, which is 16th of July. And we are also very happy. MS Siddiqui is also with us. He is a renowned writer. He has a lot of publications, and he frequently writes. He's a columnist, and also he has also a lot of other credentials. So I guess when I invite MS Siddiqui, he can tell more about himself. Um, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhi Mandal.
Yes,
It's my pleasure to join your program.
yeah, right. Mr. Jiaur Rahman, can you just start, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening to all of you in Canada, North America, and other parts of the world, and good morning to people in Bangladesh. How's everyone? Hopefully, you're awake in Bangladesh, and hopefully everything is okay in other parts of the world. Thank you, Edward, for allowing me to carry on with the series. Um, Today is our third day, and today we are basically going to talk about issues in leadership and stewardship. So let me directly jump into my presentation. Um, just allow me a few seconds to start this program. Share it. Where is it? This is always a um, okay. Let me. You have actually disabled screen sharing. Edward, you have to enable screen sharing.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, he's ready now. You can go ahead.
Okay, so
Okay, so before you continue, I just like to
yes,
share. This is just, I think, a lot of other people will be joining, and hopefully, a lot of other people are present. Like, so what I'm expecting is, if you have any questions, you can write in a chat box and also in the comment box that those who are seeing in a live. So we will be welcoming some questions uh, at the end. The resource person will answer those questions, and also. Uh, MS Siddiqui, can you also participate like in terms because we are expecting you will be in this session. The session will be 45 minutes, hopefully, and then after that we'll be sharing. We'll be having some question answer sessions, so we'll be participating. And in case you do have any questions or any concern or any valuable comments, you can write in a chat box, and then at the end also we'll also provide you an opportunity so that you can provide your expert opinion, and we really appreciate your presence here. Thank you very much. So Mr.
Uh,
Jiaur Rahman, you can go ahead.
yes, but I don't see the screen on my computer. Somehow it seems that I'm stop share and I want to share again, but it shows a screen which is not seems to be mine. It's can you just
I
hang
think
on for a
you
actually where is that file that it
just hold on.
shows it shows your screen probably it shows Dropbox, Microsoft Online, Google Drive, etc.
My screen. Okay.
Um, can you hold on for 1 second? Let me try more something different. Um, where is it?
All right. So in the meantime, I'll let share with you about the Prerona television. You can, when you are ready, you can just
Okay, sure.
screen share. When the screen is in front of us, then we can start. So we started this Prerona television. It is actually a Canada-based TV channel that we registered. Is a federally registered things, and we also registered in Ontario in Alberta. We are operating from Alberta. Alberta is one of those. Uh, Western province that we are having. So we will be providing some training session on different topics. So as we know that we are based in Edmonton, so we'll be providing this training from Edmonton, Alberta, and we'll be uh, except this corporate training, we're also having some other sessions that we'll be sharing with you. So we are very happy that we are actually regularly now conducting these training sessions. One of the purpose for this training session is actually um, for our young generations. As you know, there's a lot of international students studying in Canada and a lot of different parts of the world. So they need some kind of soft skill development, and also we would like to share our experience. Those are in the those are practitioners, those are in the business field, or those in the corporate world. So they will share their experience. Also, we'll be inviting academic from different universities, so they will also share their experience and expert opinion, and that will also help our uh, community. So we are serving is a multilingual channel. So basically we will be all the training session that we are providing for the postgraduate students are in English. Also, we will be having some sessions, those who especially for Bengali speaking people, but mostly our training sessions and corporate training session will be in English. So I guess Mr. Jiaur Rahman's presentation is all ready, so he can go ahead.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, I do.
You can see my presentation. Fantastic. Okay.
Yes.
Uh, you can see my presentation. Hopefully, can you see the presentation right now?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
All right.
you can
All
go
right.
ahead.
Fantastic. I'm sorry for the glitch. For some reason, I couldn't get this presentation on. We live in a very technical world, and if something goes bad, then we are in big trouble. So I actually had to get my son's support to get it going. So thank you, my son. His name is Rad. He helped me out. All right. So first, let me come back again. In the last few days, the last 2 weeks, we had talked about leadership. We had talked about leadership traits, leadership strategies. And in this session, we are actually going to talk about leadership, and at the same time we're going to move to the issues of stewardship. So these are two words which are very much intertwined. One builds on the other, and in this global market as we are right now involved in, the issues of leadership has actually transformed into something called stewardship. So leadership and stewardship are two vital components in today's world, and I'm going to, as we move into the presentation, we are going to see a certain changes from leadership to stewardship issues, and the challenge from turning oneself from being a leader to being a steward is also going to be discussed upon. So these are my credentials, and you have all my numbers here. So let me jump into the presentation right away. So I actually talked about leadership in detail in the last few slides. So without jumping too much into the previous slide, I have actually found one small quotation that gives a very clear view of, what leadership is all about. So the first thing I would like to draw your attention is to the fact that what is leadership? So leadership is bringing people together to make something happen. So this is a statement by HARLAND Cleveland. I found it very concise, but yet it captures the whole essence of what a leader ought to be doing and what needs to be done once you are a leader or in the process of turning yourself into a leader. So the focus is to bring people together from diverse background and focus on some common agenda and bring these people mindset together and moving them in a synchronous way so something tangible can happen. So you as a leader would have to have some kind of objective in mind, a vision, if you want to call it, at the end of the tunnel, that where you want your people, the people who with whom you are working with would like to go. So you're trying to bring these people together by combining their energy in a right earnest to deliver the right set of results. So that is basically leadership. So in this equation, bringing people together is a very big challenge, bringing people together. And today we are going to talk about these issues of how to get people together and to make people work with you for a particular vision. Notice in this point, I, the leader, himself or herself is actually shaping the focus of the organization. Here, the people are being brought together to perform a particular action that the leader is contemplating or that the leader feels important for the success of the organization. So it is a lot of it is dependent on me planning out the vision of the organization and then moving forward with my team and moving forward with them to achieve that particular action. This is where I would like to draw your attention that stewardship might actually engage something more, and that's what we're going to come about once we go through the slides. Okay, moving forward, we had talked about leadership traits. So if you talk about traits or characteristics, they are pretty much the same. So here we are focusing on the characteristics of a leader. What should a true leader have? Obviously, leadership depends on the areas in which you are leading. If you're a leader in the technical area, you will have to have a lot of technical knowledge. But if you're leading people from a different angle, if you're a political leader, or if you're a transformational leader working in an organization as a leading person, giving the mentoring and guiding and counseling type of support, then your characteristics might be slightly different. So I have tried to address the common characteristic that a leader should have in order for that person to lead in society or in the organization in which he or she works. So number one point, a leader is going to be action oriented. A leader does not sit idle, wait for things to happen around that person. The leader thinks about the present and the future, tries to understand what is going on, what are the subsequent undercurrents in the society or in the business world in which he or she is planning to lead. So again, I am using a common perspective of leading in any sphere. So if you are in a particular industry, your characteristics might be slightly different. So, but the common thread in this uh, in this leadership characteristics is that you have to be action oriented. You want change. You are always driving forward with a new perspective or what needs to be done. You're constantly moving. Then you have to be solution minded. There are people who are tremendously action oriented, but they don't move around trying to achieve a certain objective, in the sense that trying to solve things that in which he or she is put into. So if you're a leader, your one of the other focus areas would be to be in finding solutions to certain problems or issues or the challenges that you are facing. So somebody who's trying to get to solve a particular issue, then move forward with another issue, and so on. So solution minded would be another area where a leader should focus on. Leadership should focus on vision. Obviously, this is the big catchy word that the entire world is constantly thinking, that you have to be vision oriented. And if you are not vision oriented, if you're a leader, but if you're or short-sighted, so to speak, then the big opportunities might go past you and you may miss the boat of opportunity. So you must have a vision of where you want the organization or where you want to put yourself and your team in the next 2 to 5, 10 years. So that's another characteristic. Then comes the ability to reason in chaos and stress. This is also vital. Some people may argue that why did I put this, because this might be part of the other components, but I wanted to emphasize on this point, and I want to suggest that a leader should be able to handle chaos and stress in a very peaceful manner. That means a lot of people might get challenged by a certain situation happening around that person, and then he or she may fail. His ability to think and reason may break down. But in the case of a leader, we don't want that to happen. So a leader has to be calm, collected, and then getting people on board as to how to move and push the agenda forward. That way, everybody else around him or her feels the comfort that no, no matter what is going on in the organization or in the current environment, my leader or this particular leader is not going to fail because he is reasoning with logic. He's reasoning even under severe stress with rational mind frame. So this is an important trait, and I wanted to emphasize this as separately. Then the next one is pretty much connected with the previous one. You have to show enthusiasm and confidence. Confidence is also, I am confident, but if you are a little pessimistic, then it may not work. So you have to be confident and also enthusiastic as to not being frustrated by the changes that are happening around you. A lot of cases, leadership is actually tested during a particular storm, like it might be an economic storm or a cultural organizational storm. So a leader has to be confident during the course of the journey of this transitioning from one phase to the other. For example, currently we are in the COVID-19 scenario. It's a pandemic case scenario, and every leader of an organization, be it a state or be it a organization or be it the city corporation, or it may be the position of the mayor or any position in a corporate world, if you're not seen as confident, if you're vacillating, if you don't know what to do or what words of comfort to share, then you will be considered less of a leader. And obviously, it's a psychological mind frame that will affect your audience, in the sense the people with whom you work with. So if you can exude a sense of confidence, a sense of knowing it, that no, don't worry, we have things under control, or I have things under control, and I can see the direction as to which way we need to proceed, then people around you will line up and follow with the directives and the planning that you are proposing. But here you have to be also very careful as not to show overconfidence, because stepping from confidence to being overconfident confidence is another big gray area, and you don't want to be overconfident and then you spoil the game. You might think that you are the only person who only has the right solution or the right set of knowledge to attack the issue. That may not be the case. So I want to emphasize on the point that leadership is confidence, but it's never overconfidence. As a leader, you have to be able to balance between the two. Very tricky area, but as we grow older and have more wisdom, or if you purposely start thinking of where to draw the line, then you will turn yourself into a better leader. Then the last point, but not the least, this is a very important point, and this sort of encapsulates the entire characteristic of a leader, and that is being trusting and integrity driven. You have to be able to trust people, and the same trusting issue has to happen from the people who are around you, who are considering you to be the leader. And at the same time, how do you build your trust if you have strong integrity and ethics standards? And this integrity and ethics will be heavily played upon when we talk about stewardship issues. Okay, so in a nutshell, these are the characteristics of a proper leader. So let me jump into the next slide. Now it comes the interesting area which we are going to talk about in detail today, which is stewardship. And the presentation started with two words. The first word was leadership, and the second word was stewardship. While they are synonymous and one sits on the other, there are a lot of boundary issues which each has over the other. However, there is certain level of distinction between leader and a steward. So what is a steward, or what does stewardship do? In a very small sentence, I would like to bring your attention to what a steward does. So it is leadership driven by governance, governance and management design, while incorporating ethical standards. So we are now getting three new words. Not to mention that leadership did not have these three words. Of course, a leader also had these three words, but under the stewardship design, your emphasis on the governance issue, the governance of an organization, governance of your own self, managing your own ways of doing things, or management from the external community of the activities of the things that you do as the governance part. So governance becomes an important element, and of course governance is set of policies, right? And managing and incorporating those issues into the real world is the management part. So these are synonymous. One is the set of policies that one has to follow through, and the other one is the operationalizing part of that, these policies. So governance and management incorporating ethics is stewardship. So you might ask me that in leadership wasn't ethics considered, wasn't issues of governance considered, or management? Yes and no. Yes, of course, any leader must have a self plan, a system within the organization, a frame of reference, if you want to call it, a frame of rules. But when you talk about stewardship, these are much more embedded, much more emboldened, much more stronger, in the sense that you are responsible to a larger stakeholder community through the policy directives and the governance paradigms, and the implementation of all these into the real world and real work that you do is supported by the management team, you being part of the management team. And then ethics is at the center of everything. These days, if you notice that many leaders, it has happened throughout the ages, throughout the centuries, that leaders all of a sudden turning into somebody negative and stealing or doing mischievous things that apparently was not noticed, and after a certain period of time, the society finds out, or the people around him or her finds out, that this leader is not truly the leader he or she had portrayed himself or herself to be. So issues of ethics is intertwined, connected with a leader, and so it and more so in the design of the stewardship. So I want to draw the attention on these three words one more time: governance, management, and ethics, very much intertwined with a leader. And that's how a leader turns into a steward. So in English, what does steward normally does is he or she is not just leading all the time, but someone who's there and also being there in case of intellectual nourishment, or offering some kind of maturity into a process. So someone like a coach or a mentor. So a leader having these three issues, working through the three issues, becomes a steward, so to speak. So let me move forward and discuss on stewardship matters. So I've already explained this, so I will dwell less on this slide, but it's a transitional leadership culture that we term as stewardship, and it's built around the governance and management and incorporating the ethical issues. So this is the point that we had discussed in the previous slide as the definition. So this is one characteristic of stewardship. Then the other is integrity driven, and there is a dilemma between leadership and integrity at times. You will notice in history there are many leaders who sometimes forget that they have a stake, they are part of the stakeholder process, that they, whatever they do has an impact on society, and sometimes they step out of that zone and starts to design a future state which is perhaps based on a tunnel vision of, let's say, pure profit. The company designs new products and services without paying attention to the underlying issues of, let's say, whether the product is good for society, whether the product brings a certain level of value to the customer base, etc., whether the product is truly needed for society or not. So when you are challenged on these issues and you are not paying much attention, then maybe you can call yourself as being a leader with a profit maximization motive, but you can never call yourself a steward. So when you're considering yourself as a steward, you are actually building the fabric of the societal issues into your product, into the service offering that you have with regards to your product. So this is an important challenge for a leader. And when leader does not take these into cognizance, does not take this into his or her mindset while designing his or her uh, program or service design, or his or her ideas of the future for the organization, then this person cannot call himself or herself as being truly in the driver's seat of a stewardship uh, type of leader. So stewardship, it would be an ethical point of view. What I want to say is stewardship is ethics built into leadership in a much larger capacity. And there is a dilemma. When you do that, then sometimes you have to uh, look at other issues such as pure profit maximization motive. You might have to look at society's issues and then design the product outcome. So that's an important challenge for a steward. Whereas the stakeholder community, one stakeholder community, maybe the owners community, the shareholders community, the board of directors community might have a slightly different vision, and they are maybe focusing on profit maximization for themselves. So in this case, will that stewardship driven leader perform and still make the board happy? That's a challenge. But what I'm driving at is once you build yourself to be that type of person, bringing in integrity and ethics into your leadership design, and you convey this, and you convey these type of perspective into your operational floor and into your board of directors and into the design of the entire organization, then slowly these high value ethical norms seep into the organization, and the organization begins to relate to you and slowly understand that you are also part of the bigger picture. Simply profit maximization may not be the right ideal solution for you, this organization, and not appropriate for you as the leader. So in this case, in these type of circumstances, the organization and the leader, in this case a steward, starts to work in one in unison. So the organization slowly evolves into a grand and a glorious organization. So the biggest challenge for a leader who would like to transform the organization into being a stewardship driven frame of reference driven organization, the, that person has to convey these messages regularly into their his community, that community in terms of the product community, in terms of the owners community, in terms of the management, the people with whom he or she works with. The next point is changing leadership landscape, and this is very important. There is a definition. I don't have it, but I read it a few days back, and I was actually rereading it yesterday. And one theoretician was talking about the idea of understanding the landscape. And he suggested that if a leader does not understand the landscape in which he or she operates, then he cannot be truly a leader. He can be a good manager, but not a leader. So those are the dilemma. The landscapes are changing. For example, in the current landscape that we are now in the global arena, in the business and the socio-political arena, the way we used to do things would be has been challenged, and the old ways of doing things in many cases have to be reformulated, revisited, maybe thrown out, maybe absolutely new design of an organization has to be evolved. For example, the sales process design, the design of the sales and marketing division of your organization, the way it was done previously definitely will have to be reviewed and re-looked upon and re-strategized in the current environment where the movement of people from one organization to the other is highly restricted. So uh, what you have to do is you have to challenge yourself with the new normal conditions. And if you understand as a leader as to how to go about this obstacle, these challenges, then you truly become a leader. And building the organization with the issues of governance and proper management, you turn yourself into a stewardship driven organization beyond leadership. So let me move to the next slide. I want to bring your attention to this diagram. It has three components, actually four. It's the new design of leadership. The, the important component to understand is that it is building an organization from three blocks. But now first block we're talking about is stewardship, and the other two are governance and management, and in between sits the ethics. And if you look at the arrows, they're multi-directional. That means it's not a top-down approach or one-way approach that you become a steward or you become a good manager and then you become a good steward, or if you become a good manager you are automatically going to have a good governance. Maybe this might be partly true, but the essence of this slide does not portray that. The essence of this slide portrays the fact that these are connected issue. One sits squarely on the other. That means you cannot take one out and expect the organization to perform at an optimum or efficient level. So a steward ship and organization must have a strong commitment to governance issues. And when we talk about governance, we are not just looking at the governance in terms of regulatory governance. That means what the government wants you to do, and you as an organization are complying with the rules and norms and policies of the government. That is one set of governance issues. But when you talk about um, a leadership issue where you're building yourself to the next level and becoming a steward in society, you have to look at the issues of governance beyond government. You have to look at issues which are holistic in the sense that it entails other areas and other functional areas which maybe the regulation is not addressing. Normally when government issues a particular policy, they use a common denominator factor. For example, um, minimum level of commitment that you have to comply with in order to be acceptable as an organization but doing particular job. So the minimum level is normally part of the regulation. But if you are to become an organization which is beyond leadership and into an organization which is built around stewardship, then the minimum level is significantly pushed up. And if you notice organizations around you, you will read in newspapers and you will read in business cases that these certain organizations are challenging themselves on a daily basis and trying to create an opportunity, create a standard which is much beyond the organization's regular legal requirement. You might ask, you might question the direction of the leadership as to why you have to go beyond the basic regulatory uh, steps. It's because you want to build an organization which is based on the trust of the people. And once you can achieve that type of trust from your community, your organization and your brand of the brand value of the organization is significantly boosted up, pushed up. And when you have that type of support from your community, the products that you will be rolling out, the services that you plan to roll out will be better appreciated from the market, and the community who is buying your product or using your services will always wait for your next round of products. So this is very important. If you look at technical superiority in terms of product design, if you notice companies, there are companies which the standards are in the market, and the organization comes with a product which is much beyond the standard. If you look at Apple, is one such organization. They are known by design supremacy. They bring their new product with superior design, which could have been offered at slightly lower design, with slightly lower design sense, but they wait for the perfect timing with the proper design, and they unfold their product. So people tend to wait months, sometimes few months, for the new product to be launched, and they come and buy the product from the stores. So why is it happening? Because they have pushed the agenda, they have pushed the standards of their design uh, compared to rest of the other competitors. So here the issues of stewardship is built into their decision making. So the other part is the management, which is connected with the governance. If your management is not particularly focused on the issues of ethics and what is fair and what needs to be included in a product and what cannot be included in a product, maybe a product has a certain ingredient, maybe a particular chemical that the product is using, which comes out to be which through, let's say, research, we find out that the chemical is causing some kind of health hazard. So a great organization with stewardship mindset and culture would perhaps recall the product from the market and take in a loss if need be, and quickly bring the changes to the product and redistribute the product with the new services or the changes that needs to be done, incorporating that into the product and bringing it back to the customer. So maybe this information was not widely circulated regarding the chemicals negative impact in society. Maybe a few people knew. They could have just not gone into a widespread recall of product. They could have just done a little recall where only few people who actually came to know about the issue, they were given the new product and asked them to not worry too much about the product anymore. Then that would have been a issue of leadership challenge, but you cannot consider that an issue of stewardship challenge. So what I'm driving at is the fact that a leader works with a certain domain and certain structure, whereas a steward is also adding more tasks, more attributes, more perspective into the decision-making process. So it's more complex. It's a more stakeholder-driven approach. So this is a very important new design that the world is slowly moving towards, and the world is, as the world is evolving, and the corporations and the companies that are working with people are incorporating. And this is also very important. These days, even the governments of different countries are trying to build in stewardship issues into the design of how the management of the government is going to operate. If you analyze critically the operations of different governments, assume the government of Canada versus the government of Canada versus the government of, let's say, Australia or UK, and let's say the government of Bangladesh, India, Nepal, for instance, you will see more emphasis on stewardship issues, more emphasis on the values of society being embedded in the countries which are considering more focused on delivering social justice, social welfare, social equity for its citizens. So that is an important reality even in the sphere of the governance of the nation or governance of a municipality or a city corporation. So now let me move to the next slide. We are looking at, we looked at leadership traits. If you look at stewardship traits, what could be some of these issues which we have to consider on a regular basis, and what underlying valued statements that stewardship includes or encompasses. Number one is it nourishes on ethical aspirations and principles. So every person, a leader, feeling that he or she has to work with the community and society following certain norms, is actually following certain principles. And these principles, if you package it and think that, okay, these are the principles that I would like to follow. And so in other words, these would be your ethical aspirations for the organization or for your way forward. So this leadership under stewardship is actually nourishing this. It is feeding upon itself on a regular basis. So there might be periods where your uh, focus on ethical issues might come, it might ebb, it might come down a bit. Maybe you're tremendously challenged in terms of squeezing in profit, and then you might find you might cut a corner on some products, let's say, and you build the profitability back into the organization. But that is actually going against the ethical principles that or ethical aspirations that you had if you wanted to be a true steward. So this is very important, that you have to be nourishing it on a regular basis. So it will ebb and flow. When it ebbs, you nourish with the viewpoints, with the understanding, with the discussions in your floor and with your board and with your employee base, your management, as to how to bring back more the attributes of stewardship into the process design or into the product, in the ways you run your operations. Remember, a policy that is not conducive for employees at all, maybe it's purely driven by the issues of profit, making the organization more efficient, without paying any attention to the stress level on the employee base, is can be considered an issue of stewardship, where the principles of ethical aspirations have had been compromised. So you, as a leader, you have to deliver those issues, and you have to understand that these small issues but relevant issues should be part of your ethical principles and aspirations. And once you have those embedded in your system, we're looking at stewardship being conducted properly. Then comes the issue of governance. You are promoting governance on a regular basis. You can't say that, okay, for the first 6 months, we are going to be really following through the norms, policies, structures as per directed by the state or as per our design of the management. And then you sort of slide backwards for the next 3-6 months. And then you again recover and revamp your governance issues. That should not be the way for a proper stewardship driven organization. It has to be a constant process, and you have to promote the issue of governance on a regular basis. And there should be stronger motivation to ensure the governance practices are streamlined into each of the functional areas in which the organization works. It cannot be only, let's say, in a particular management ranks that, okay, we are very much concerned about governance, but we are not at all paying attention as to how we are, let's say, sourcing the raw material, and we are sourcing a raw material which comes of very bad, let's say, bad product design, or maybe not, maybe the ingredients that went into the design of the basic product has some chemical issues which is bad for the environment or your health, but you didn't pay attention. You were looking at the other parts of your organization, and you suggested that we have to be much more objective in ensuring that none of the regulatory aspects of the aspects are compromised, but you didn't pay attention to the initial point of sourcing. Then you cannot call yourself a stewardship driven organization. It has to be constant through the entire process of your organization. Then develops the management process. This is very important. You can't have stewardship out of thin air. It has to be a process that is designed with persistent effort. in the management ranks. So management must put in a certain amount of time and commit himself or herself into reviewing its management process and try to articulate the new process where the issues of stewardship are embedded, are inputted. And that is how the organization can transform from being a leadership driven organization to a stewardship driven organization. The next point is crucially important. It says balances authority versus power. This is an area of great intellectual inquiry, and there are a lot of discussions that go on between leader and a steward. So authority versus power. Uh, I can explain the two by sharing an example. Imagine yourself working in an organization. You are the managing director of that organization, but you have somebody within your organization to whom everybody goes. If there is an issue, if there is a problem, if they want some kind of input, maybe that person is one or two ranks below you. Maybe that person is a very senior manager or somebody very good with people management. Most people, when they have some form of challenge, they go to that person. That is the uh, power of that is the that is known as the power within the organization, which is beyond authority. That person has not been given the authority to take on these issues, but people have have a confidence on that particular person, and they actually go to that person before actually going through the ranks of authority. So this is an important challenge in stewardship. Unless you can muster that power, you may have the authority as a leader, but you cannot truly transform the organization unless you have the inherent power within yourself to bring everybody with you into the new design of the organization. So authority and stewardship are very much connected, but one is beyond the other, and one is based on paper design that the organization has given you the authority to be running the operation of this division or the entire organization, and everybody in the organization will have to respond to you. That is the authority given. Whereas the power of the self, it lies with maybe someone else, which is not given by any paperwork. It just happens automatically within the organization. So as a steward, you have to understand how to manage these roles within the organization. A steward will actually engage in the discussion and in the dynamics of the organization and try to build the power of the self. The let's you can call it the intuitive power within the organization based on the authority given to you. So if you have both, then you are actually going to be a proper steward. If you have one and you don't have the other, then yes, you can be a leader, but you may not be the most sought after leader, and you cannot call yourself a steward in that particular organization or in the industry. The last point is promoting synergistic relationship. Synergy is a widely used term in management. What it does is tries to bring the energies of two set of people. If two set of people had worked individually, maybe they have produced X output. But when they are collaborating and discussing amongst themselves and producing a particular outcome, they are not producing X. They are now producing X plus Y output. That plus Y is actually the result of synergistic approach to management. So a steward is actually the steward actually works on building synergies within the organization. When you build on synergistic approaches in running the organization, then things sort of starts to unfold in a meaningful way. It starts to rhyme as a wonderful musical piece. So if you don't have synergy, then you will have cacophony, you will have discord, your music will not be there, the organization will have hiccups into transforming itself, and people will be challenged on a daily basis. So it's the issues of firefighting, which is part of, let's say, a leadership culture, which is broadened and more, what should I say, strengthened in the sense of the process design is much more fluid, much more effective, and much more harmonic. And that is the synergy that has resulted in throughout the organization. And once you have that type of synergy within the organization, then automatically the organization and the people within the organization transforms himself and herself. And the person leading the organization will be a will be definitely a leader with stewardship traits. So he or she will be stewarding the organization into the future. So almost coming to the close of my session, I I I want to again come back to the $1 million question, and we're going to discuss on this a little bit as well. So what is this question? The question is, do we need stewardship or leadership within? That means within ourselves, around our lives. That means people around us, or in the organizations where we work. It's almost a self-explanatory question, and the answer is obviously we need to build on the culture of stewardship as we move forward. It's not a in management we talk about fads. Certain terms come and go in the industry. They stick around for a few years, and people sort of understand that it is it is truly the old design with a slight level of change. So it's not particularly addressing something unique, or it's not bringing in a different design into the thought process within the industry. So people tend to forget the new word. They sort of revert back to the old word. And there are examples on those areas globally. So what I'm trying to drive at is this is not a fad that we're talking about stewarding an organization in today's marketplace. It's no more a fad. If somebody thinks or believes that the word leadership encapsulates or encompasses all the attributes of stewardship, that's fine. But now the new term, the new lingua franca of a leader is to move the organization, stewarding the organization into the future. He or she does not necessarily only build his future based on charisma, dynamism, articulation, a lot of knowledge. Those are needed, but all the other attributes, connected attributes under stewardship is needed. And what these attributes were, we discussed throughout the short presentation, where we brought in issues of governance in a very strong way, and the issues of governance have to be strongly considered in the stewardship design. And we also talked about the management aspect as to how the management has to be brought into the design of the design, so that the governance challenges are not overlooked. Even during the periods of stress, the organizational leaders, within the management rank, continues to have a strong focus on maintaining the governance challenge and perhaps doing better. And encapsulating all of that are weaving in the issues of ethics into these three issues: stewardship, governance, and management. Weaving that with the issues of ethics, that, in other words, issues of ethics is perhaps the mother trait that connects all the three baskets. So if there is no ethics into the organization, if you're not framing your product design or your process design or a culture or a system within your organization which are not ethical, then you are actually not a organization moving with the stewardship design. And when I talk about design of the ethics, which we will deal with in a much longer presentation in future, we are actually considering the important point of the ethics, which is sometimes also challenging your profitability and profit margins. Sometimes you have to give in to your profit in order to be ethical.
in order to be making an exemplary statement into the market and change your leadership, not design perhaps, but leadership decisions in the market. And you may have to bring back or take in a little bit of loss in order to ensure that ethical standards are maintained at a high level. So these are important issues. So the $1 million question, the answer is, perhaps from my point of view, is that you cannot steward an organization unless you have the culture of stewardship within your own self. That means your mind as a human being has to encapsulate and encompass the perspective of ethics, perspective of following rules, perspective of making sure the stakeholders are properly addressed in the design, in the operations of your organization. And the institutional framework in which you're working has to also have all these policies designed, structured around the ethical challenges and ethical dilemmas. So this is the $1 million question that actually I wanted to ask you, but since the answers are pretty much obvious, I sort of gave you my rundown on the answer. So with that, I think I will give the floor back to Edward. Edward, if you would like to add something to it, and then we will take some questions from the floor. Oh, thank you, Edward. Can you hear me, Edward?
Yeah, okay, so can you hear me? All right.
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentations, and thank you for your valuable input and your expert opinion. I would like to share with you a few things, few points. As you know that all of us, in different level, we have challenges. So if you just say as a personal level, like individual level, we do have challenges. Like we do have challenges of decision makings, some ethical dilemma, and then those leadership issues that we are actually experiencing in organizations. There are also areas that as an organizations they are also facing, right? Which is first the dilemma, right? Whether they will follow the right way or they will just right compromise and like those ethical issues. And then as a country or as a nation that we do have challenges. You see, those who are actually students and now they're leaders and they're running the country. So this country, the nation is also having a lot of challenges in terms of leadership, in terms of stewardship, ethical dilemmas. So actually, what I am sharing with you is this. This is just a start of discussion, and we do have a lot of challenges. And I know that for each one of those areas, we just need to focus. This one as an individual level, we do have a lot of questions, a lot of issues. Um, so I guess what my opinion, right, in this area would be. Uh, we just need to have that like open discussion and see what we can learn from our experts and from our from our leaders, and then what approach that we should take, right? For example, as an individual level, what action we should take, and as an organization level, if you are actually responsible for any positions or any responsibility, or so what action you should take. So, and also for as a nation, right, what the leaders should right take action. So I know like this is just this is a very crucial topic, and we should actually focus on that from the very beginning. I think that is an individual level, that what we should do, what we can do, but what we can learn from others. So I welcome right discussion, and I think we'll be inviting more discussion on this topic. And actually, what I can see today's presentations. My opinion would be some of the areas are too much broad, like too broad. We need to focus on a very specific areas where we can focus more or spend more times and discuss a very important issues, and then some techniques and tools that are available for us, and then what lesson we can take, and if there is a success story, that what we should actually learn, and from that we may have, right, success story in our country, we may success story abroad. So we can take those examples, and we can go from there. So that's my opinion. Now I would like to invite MS Siddiqui. If you have any questions or opinion, I will really appreciate your opinion. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Edward. Um, I appreciate Jia Rahman for presenting a wonderful paper, and also he has referred to some practical references in our business and political leadership. So I appreciate that. So my question is, I see some conflict in practical experience and theory what presented Zia Rahman. If you look into the leadership in our society, in Bangladesh society, we don't evaluate how somebody became a leader. Even after somebody became a leader, how he is running his organization. If he can run the organization or a longer period, or make some profit or some other gain, so we consider him as a successful leader, and maybe we don't consider about the stewardship. And when interesting enough, my question in my mind that whether somebody will gain the stewardship first or the leadership first. If somebody became a leader, then he will convert it to change to the go for a stewardship. Or with the stewardship, somebody became the #1 man of the organization. These are the $1,000,000 question. Another $1,000,000 question. Another problem is that in business, for example, what people face, somebody is producing a low-cost product without any ethical practice, and somebody making a good product, so the cost will be higher. Now, if you go to the market, then the consumer, they are not assessing the ethics. They look for the cheaper product. They expect the producer should be ethical, but when they go to the market, they look for the cheaper product, or they go for the brand product. And now the question is branding. Is it on the basis of ethics or stewardship or publicity or something like that? I want to draw the attention of Prabir Mandal and Zia Rahman on this issue. Everybody is talking about the ethics and good product, but at the end of the day, when they are going to the market, they look for the cheaper product or at higher price, only the brand product, not question of ethics or stewardship. So this is the question I raise, and I conclude here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. MS Siddiqui, you have raised a very important issue, and this is the dilemma of the market. This is definitely a very important question. It's more than $1,000,000 question. In society, we have these understanding amongst the consumer that we want good products, but we want it cheap. Actually, this is a misnomer. It's a common issues of perceptual error in the understanding from the consumer's point of view. There are no cheap products which are extremely good. When you have cheap products, you're actually cutting corners. Either it might be on product design, it might be on the product's durability, it might be on the sourcing of the product and the ingredients that go into making of the product. So a cheap product necessarily is not a very ethically strong design product. So when you bring in the issues of ethics, you cannot actually produce cheap products because, for instance, asbestos as a product which was used extensively globally in the 1960s and 70s in the roofs is no longer being used in the global environment because asbestos had a tremendous side effect, some kind of carcinogenic side effect, which was discovered after, let's say, after 20, 30 years. So no company
that is going to be ethical in today's market, having knowledge of this issue will produce products with, let's say, asbestos ingredient, unless it is properly chemically treated. Per se, I'm not a chemical engineer, so I don't know how to treat it, but I know for sure that certain changes have to be incorporated into a product. And that in that case, if you want to create a cheap product, maybe you have to use some form of asbestos into the product design, which the consumer probably even didn't know, but the price was low, and you thought that, oh, this is a good product having a low price, and you buy the product into your house, but you're bringing in some form of uh, future discomfort for you, health discomfort that may or may not result. So these are important issues. And the issue you mentioned about brand and publicity, I would like to draw your attention that branding and publicity has to be done based on the ethical standards of the organization. If you're spending just money and promoting the product and getting the name very much known to the consumer, and the consumer starts to believe in your product, thinking that this is a great product. I hear of this product every day, so I must buy this product because this serves certain benefit, offers certain benefit for me, and I need, let's say, a mobile, and I want to buy this branded mobile because it's promoting itself left and right, here and there. Everywhere I hear this name, so it must be a good product. That is different from being an ethically responsible company offering its marketing and publicity. So ethics has to be incorporated, and it has to be the central point on which everything else has to evolve. You can't brand without having an ethical standard within your product. And if you try to do that, eventually, after a lot of distress, your product may come out to hurt the society and the people. And eventually, you may also be wiped out from the industry due to litigation, public action litigation, or just simple litigations filed by the consumers. So this is an important challenge, and thank you for raising this important point. And we have to build on these three things separately and then tie them together. I would like to bring my attention to the statement made by Edward. He mentioned that it has to be, the presentations have to be more deeper into one particular segment. As I mentioned to my audience in the last two sessions, that currently we are building on an overall structure, and we are going into different avenues, different areas of leadership in an holistic perspective at this point. And when we finish, let's say after doing 4 or 5 more sessions, then we will drive down into each one and go deeply into each of the topics that we had covered on each of the sessions. So maybe one session will, or 2 sessions will be dedicated into only one of the topics, but in a much more deeper form. And in that space, we will bring in more issues from the practical world, and may also blend in case issues that has happened around those topics, and for the audience to kind of get a grasp of what is the challenge, how was the challenge addressed, what issues were considered, and how we move forward. Those type of issues will be raised and dealt in a deeper way after a few sessions. So back to you, Edward. Thank you, and thank you for the wonderful comments by MS Siddiqui. Thank you very much for being with us.
All right. Before I say something, I like to request. We have few more participants. I can see. I don't know. Probably it's from Joe Rahman's by reference. Is Gulshan Saleh? Do you have anything to say? Do you
Would
have
you
any
like to add
questions?
something?
Do you like to add something? I'm not sure. Anyway,
Are you sure? Are you sure, Gulshan? Okay, maybe he didn't hear
oh,
us.
he didn't hear. Anyway, so what I would like to share actually in
There's
rep
another person,
B, right?
BPP.
Great.
Would you like to add something? they're
Very
listening
good.
in.
Let's
Okay, carry on.
listening. Anyway, so in reference to MS Siddiqui's questions, I would like to share. I know there is a challenges, and it is this world is not idle, and then the scenario it is not like and right. We do have a lot of challenges when we are actually seeing academic perspective too, and a practitioner's perspective, and see. I did had an opportunity to work with a couple of case studies with the European Commissions in case of specific reference to a child labor. I guess in that particular case on child labor issues, that's a couple of many years back we had an issue with that. So actually the best practices like we should do our right due diligence as an individual, as an organizations, as a government. So when we do our part right in times, right, it helps. So what is my perspective, right? Maybe the things are not in the right track right now, or maybe we have a lot of challenges. So what we can do is just identify those and work on this instead of talking maybe in talk shows or anything. Just let's work on it. Maybe also encourage the students, encourage the new generations, and then what should be done, and how we can ethically responsible on a particular areas and perspective. And even with industry association, there's a lot of industry associations associated with the Federal Chamber of Commerce, right? So those industry, you might have a contacts with those industry leaders or those owners of different industries. So we can have that interactions with those individuals or those companies, and then you can encourage right, and see best practices. It takes time. I know that like some of the areas we have improved, some of the areas we still need to improve, but this is a continuous process. So I guess we just need to do our job right, or we just need to do our due diligence, and we need to do our part. So that's the thing. Anyway, thank you very much. Do you have anything to conclude, Mr. Jia Rahman? Then I'll have final comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We will be coming back next week, same time, on the same channel, and we will again bring back another topic of leadership into our decision, into our presentation, and we invite you back the same time on the same channel next week. And we would encourage you to actually share about our channel with others, and those of you who are listening in through Facebook virtual. So please share our presentation with others, and I'm sure some people may be getting some benefit out of the presentation series. Thank you very much, and back to you, Edward.
All right. So I would like to thank Jia Rahman, the presenter, the resource person. Also, I'm very happy that MS Siddiqui, you are here. You're one of those the person that I admire, and then to your writing, and I really appreciate your presence here and your valuable comments or your expert opinion that you have provided to with us today. Uh, just let me conclude this by sharing what we are trying to do. Prerona Television is a Canada-based TV channel. We have registered federally. We also registered in Ontario, in Alberta. We are based in Edmonton. Edmonton is capital of Alberta. Alberta is one of the province of Canada. It is in Western region. And in Western region, we do have 4 provinces, which is Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and British Columbia. So our focus is actually providing educational informations or programs for our communities, the Bengali speaking communities around in Canada. So as you know now in globalizations, right, we do have audience all over. So we can't say that it is only Canada, but we are based in Canada. And but there are also this channel, TV channel, is not only Bengali. This is also English. So we provide all the training and all the sessions in English. We'll also providing some sessions in Bengali, and also in different other languages that we are having. We are inviting a lot of other resource person, and we'll be having a lot of sessions that you can see that. Probably next week you can also see our website. Will be live, so you can see all the details information. This one we'll be having an instrumental session on this coming Saturday night, and I will provide you more details in our page. So you're all welcome. Thank you very much to be with us, and my conclusion is, like as I said, we as a community member, I feel pain, right, when I see that we still had, right, we still have a scope, right, that we can, right, do for community. So as an individual, as a person, as an organizations, we should come forward and actually do something for communities. So the way the reason that we created this platform actually is to at least share our experiences, share our expert opinions with our young generation, especially those students, those who are studying here, international students and different students, those who want to develop their skill. And there are also young entrepreneurs, and like their organizations, they are having challenges. So we like to, share our expert opinion. And the experts are, they have been in this field for a number of years. They have business experience, they have academic experience. So we like to share our experience, our expert opinion, and then through which we know, right, we can, develop our society, our community. And we today I would like to, I'm very sorry to hear and share, as you know, that we had a tragic incident in Newark. One of our tech entrepreneur has been brutally killed, and we um, respect, I think is I think one of those co-founder of Pachao. So we are very sorry to hear that tragic incident. That's is not is very unexpected. So we deeply show our empathy, to the family, bereaved family. And we pray for, the family members. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll be seeing you next week on Wednesday, same time at 8 o'clock. That is Mountain Standard Time, and which is Thursday morning and Bangladesh time at 8 a.m. I know in Bangladesh is just very early in the morning, but in Canada, I think is one of the convenient time that 8 p.m. Is like most people prefer. So I'm sorry for that, but we'll having some program, because when I have more programs, you will have some program for our communities. And when we'll have recorded things, then you can see our pages. You can, pre-recorded and all right episode. You can see that. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Edward, I would like to
Yes.
just add one point. The gentleman wanted the slide presentation, but we need to have the email of the person. Do you have the email of the person who wanted the presentation? If you have, if you can quickly send in the email, then we could actually
Okay.
send out the presentation to you. Gulshan Saleh. Thank you. I just wanted to add
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so I haven't got, but I will get back to him, I guess. And will be sending, if we have email, uh, definitely, right, we'll be yeah, share with him. And we are very happy that one of the information that I'd like to share is our Prerona television is actually partnered with GARA. GARA is a global academic research academy. Is a global platform. We have now 17 countries participating in this platform. And then we are actually having a e-conference in August. Uh, so we'll be providing more information on that, and we are partnering with GARA, Global Academic Research Academy. So this is a global platform for senior, those academics, and also those who are students, the research students. So it is a great opportunity that we like to share to our community members and also the others, those who need this information. Thank you very much. Have a good morning to Bangladesh and a good evening to in Canada. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Awesome.
See you anytime,
Bye.
next
See
time.
you. Bye. Bye.